Hello, everyone, and this is my review for Impact Wrestling on May the 11th, 2017. This show, I kind of have this like but dislike feel behind a lot of the stuff that they do. They had some good stuff on this show, but then they kind of I won't say double down, but they kind of also do things in the same sense of, oh, this was good, but this was just like, why are we bothering with this? And the main thing that I'm going to go off and say before I start off on there is this whole aspect of them focusing on the Global Force Wrestling titles. Why? That it's pointless. To me, it's pointless, and I would assume to a good chunk of the viewers, it should be pointless to them as well. They announced a merger between Global Force Wrestling and Impact Wrestling. Everything's staying Impact Wrestling, which means Global Force Wrestling, okay, you're going to get the titles, or you're not going to get the titles, but you're going to get some of the superstars, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. Okay, that's fine. But since they're not doing a Global Force Wrestling invasion again, their titles are moot. They're pointless. They have no point of being around in any way, shape, or form, yet they spend so much time on the women's title. Now Sienna has the title, so they're going to have to be putting more focus around on that. Apparently they're using, and I'm not going to go, I can actually go off a little bit more before I go on in the rant now. I'm going to go fully into this throughout the entire show. Because also, right at the beginning of the show, they did something I personally didn't really care for either. They were going to start off with a match. That I like. I like starting off with matches. That's a good thing. They started off with a four-way X Division match with Colony, Damian Xavier, Matt Sydal, and Andrew Everett. The big problem is that they come on the air and two of the guys are already in the ring. Really? Shouldn't you be doing like your video package and then bring out everybody afterwards? Like most times when you already have people in the ring, they're about to do a promo or something in that sense as they get on the air. And it's like, oh, I'm taking over the show before the show even begins. Tight feel behind it. No, this one's like, oh, these two guys are already in the ring and here comes Matt Sydal and Andrew Everett. Okay. But why do these two all of a sudden have the quote unquote jobber entrances and the show's already began? The show just began and you already have two guys with jobber entrances. It makes it pointless. I like the aspect of them starting off the match. I didn't like the aspect that Caleb Colony and Damian Xavier were already inside the ring. It just made it feel like a pointless match at that point. Because you almost get that feeling of jobber entrance already there. It's like, okay, why? I feel like they should have just given a little bit more time and just have both of those guys have an entrance. It would have made that better. As for the match itself, I thought it was a good match, good action inside the ring. All four guys got to show off something inside of the match. And Andrew Everett goes over with that. They call it the. Do they call it a Frankensteiner? I don't know exactly how they. I forget how they exactly do that Hurricane Rana. The way he does it, where he spikes the person down. It's I forget what they actually call it, but it's a pretty good move. It looks very devastating. I ended up liking it in the end. But yeah, that was my main beef of the match. Matt Sydal and Andrew Everett kind of shake hands afterwards. Matt Sydal kind of gives I guess glowing view for Andrew Everett. I like Matt Sydal, honestly, but his music and everything just screams like nothing to me. In the terms of a character and the terms of everything in that sense. I know he's good inside the ring and everything to go along with it, but like his music and everything just doesn't scream anything else other than I already know that this guy's a good in-ring performer, but you're not getting a reason for him to go further up outside the fact that he had the match with Eddie Edwards the week before. But now he comes out here and loses in this match. Though he doesn't take the deciding fall, he doesn't necessarily win, so he ends out losing in the end. But you had him beat Eddie Edwards the week before. Hopefully this kind of makes something to happen between Matt Sydal and Andrew Everett down the line. I don't know exactly where they're going to go with it. Hopefully that's where it ends out going, that they'll have something to try to build both of them through all this. They're definitely doing a good job of building Andrew Everett out of it, but like I said before, you had Matt Sydal beat a former world champion last week in a great match. And then this week, he's not even in the deciding. He's just in a fatal four-way. A random fatal four-way. So, yeah. Up next, they had KM. He's still doing these skits where he kind of tortures people. This time around, he steals a pizza and then gets in that dude's face. And it's like, it's the whole aspect of don't call him a liar or he snaps or something in that sense. I'm not digging these segments at all. They're not good. I don't really care for them. The only aspect that they're really getting over in this sense of KM is that he is just like a big jerk, and that's pretty much all you're really getting out of it. Obviously, it does give an aspect of for some people should probably give the aspect of it's like I would like to see this guy get beaten up, though he's really big, and it would be really hard to pull that off. So you have that going for there, but. All in all, these segments really do nothing for me in any way, shape, or form. Up next, though, was something I ended up really liking. It was EC3 coming out, though they teased it as James Storm coming out initially. But EC3 comes out, he's in cowboy gear. He's doing this bit to try to goat James Storm, so he's mocking like cowboy voices and country music singing. He has like over the top stereotypical cowboy gear on for him. So eventually James Storm does come out, and he goes after EC3. He looks like he had gained control for the most part, but EC3 regains control, and this is honestly, in the terms of building EC3 as a heel character, this was great. What they did. It looked brutal. It was effective. That's what it was. It was very effective because EC3 handcuffs James Storm to the ropes and then just continually straps him over and over and over again, just on the aspect again, just of making it, adding the brutality for each one. It looked like EC3 just laid the strap into James Storm. They also had a bit in there where a utility guy was kind of just on the ground as EC3 was walking around. He trips over him, so he starts strapping that guy too before going back over the James Storm. And it's just one of those things. It's like, okay, now you're pulling a darker side of EC3 out. He came out doing this comedy thing, but it was all to pull out this gritty, darker side of EC3 in the end with how he strapped James Storm and everything in that sense. It was brutal to watch. It was very effective in what they needed to do, and it was one of the good segments of this show. Up next, you had Hakeem Zayn and Adonis. I'll say Adonis. Yeah, Adonis Abraham versus Laredo Kid and Garza Jr. This was a decent enough match in a tag match, but they announced it for the Global Force for a Global Force Wrestling Tag Team Title Tournament. Pointless to me, and I feel like a lot of fans should have that aspect as well. You can obviously have your own aspect to it, but to me, that you have Global Force Wrestling and merged with Impact Wrestling. Okay, that's fine. But they're not doing Global Force Wrestling like they had done a few years ago. It's not doing an invasion of Impact Wrestling. Therefore, your merger is what's this going to be? Oh, it's going to be Impact Wrestling. Okay, the Impact titles are the only titles there. Why are we doing anything with the Global Force Wrestling titles in any way, shape, or form? They should just be defunct. The company is now defunct. It's no more. It's gone. It's done. Because, like I said, they're not doing an invasion angle. They're not doing this. So their titles are literally pointless to have in any way, shape, or form. And I'm going to probably hammer this point home throughout a couple of the other aspects of this. After this, you had a Sienna promo basically talking again about her win with the Global Force Wrestling Women's title. Pointless title at this point. There's no reason for it to be there. It seems like they're just going to be having these titles here to do some kind of a merger at Slammiversary. But again, there's no reason to have a merger for any of these at this point. And I'm going to talk about the world title, their world title here in a couple moments. With the main event and everything. Up next was Ava's Story going up against Laurel Van Ness. This was pretty much a squash match, and Laurel Van Ness kind of plays off of this aspect of, she plays off being crazy, but she also has like this semblance of control. Like she knows how to get Congo Kong to do something for her in some way, because Earl is like, she's going on, she's continuing the assault after the match. Earl Hebner pulls her away, and Congo Kong immediately flips out and goes after Earl Hebner to go along with it. So that, like, she's playing off as crazy, but she's also in control. And that wasn't too bad. But like I said, this match was pretty much a squash match. Laurel Van Ness goes over. Not bad segment in the end. Absolutely okay with this one. Up next, this is one of the segments that I will say I liked where they were going, and then I disliked where they were going. This was the LAX funeral for Decay. First of all, I like the touch of everybody in LAX coming out in like Day of the Dead type stuff, in the terms of the face paint and everything. And that's like you're going to go along with everything. They're doing the whole representation of death and everything within the community. I get all that one. I liked also how they started off. They were going with that typical LAX music, and then it went to the gunshot spot on their music, and then it cuts into funeral music. That was a good touch. I liked it. It was good. And they played it throughout their entrance into the arena. They have urns and everything in that sense. Of course, Conan goes off as like, we're here to show our respects, and it's like, who am I, king? Let's show our disrespects. And cuts a promo on Decay and everyone, all the other tag teams. They're playing it off as like they're against the Authority, everything in that sense, and playing it off as in the heel ways, because pretty much most of the Authority is faces. But then they made this storyline essentially, and basically giving them their next storyline, essentially just go into the very stereotypical, this is U.S. versus Mexico. And I instantly got disengaged. And that's mostly because this storyline's been done so many times. And there's very few ways, and I got disengaged initially. I'm going to give this one a little bit of time because they obviously had Veterans of War come out with this one. So it was the typical way of where you were going to go with this. If they do it uniquely, kind of like how they were doing things with Rusev and everything in that sense, like in WWE side, they were able to take something that's been done a lot of times, but make it feel a little bit more fresh, a little bit more unique, and not necessarily feel like the same old thing that we had seen before. Now, they can do that here. I'll be more engaged in it. But right now, it's kind of just stereotypical with the way that they're going with it, because the way it started off, after they decided to go with that, you have a guy waving a U.S. flag in the crowd. LAX gets in his face. Veterans of War come off. They chase off LAX. Starting of the feud. Okay, it's the start of the feud. But for the time being, like, this segment went from really good with what they were doing, with talking about the other tag teams and what they're going to do, and keeping all the titles and everything in that sense, was really good. And for the time being, it went really bad. Well, not really bad. It just went bad. But we'll see how it goes off. If they take this feud in a direction and try to make it feel like, because like I said, we've seen this whole U.S. versus other country thing so many times that it's kind of worn out its welcome. It's kind of like we've seen it. If they can freshen it up a little bit, then I'll probably be more engaged inside of it, because I like where they're going with LAX in the sense of everything. Conan can obviously cut a good promo. Homicide hasn't done anything yet, though. You have, it's like that's been the only portion of it. He hasn't done anything, but like where they've been going with LAX, they bring in 2 new guys and everything in that sense, and they have the female in there, somebody different this time as well, going to kind of cover all the bases of everything. We're still trying to figure out what they're going to be doing with Homicide on that side of it, with him being back inside of the group. But I've been liking where they've gone with LAX so far, because they've kind of been up against the Authority in a heelish way, kind of more tweener than anything, because you can call them heels because they go up against the good old what they refer to in the wrestling side as the good old boys, or the people who have been in the business for so long that that they kind of get stuck in their old ways and they're trying to bring in new ways. So they're kind of tweeners in that sense. But everybody who's backstage is kind of face. Like Karen's considered a face, Dutch Mantel's considered a face. Like they're not considered people that would try to hold people down or anything in that sense. So we'll see where they go with this. And we'll see how everything ends up playing off. Up next was Marche Rocket versus Moose. This was essentially a squash match, and to set up this whole thing with Chris Adonis and I guess Tyrus and Eli Drake, because they attacked Moose afterwards. But this match in general just goes to show that they need more matches or other types of matches within this championship, within this grand championship thing, because they don't determine, like at this point in time, you don't know the reason why the person's getting a championship match. You haven't seen them, for the most part, you haven't seen them do anything to get that championship match. They're just getting one, in that sense of it. So I want them to do more with this. They have a concept that could be good, but you do it once a show and it's only a championship match. Why can't you have number 1 contenderships and everything in that sense to go along with it? And you can build upon that, because I like Moose and I like and I like what he can do in the ring and everything in that sense. And I want to see, I just want to see them do more with this, but I doubt they ever will. I doubt they ever will do more with this. Up next, though, was Dutch Mantel backstage. He was doing a sit-down, not a sit-down interview, but he was doing an interview backstage, and he announces that Ultimate X would be coming back next week with Trevor Lee, Andrew Everett, and Low Key. So you assume it would be for the X Division title. Should be a fun match. I think this one will be a lot of fun to watch. In that one, it was like a really quick segment. Up next, though, was Alicia Edwards versus Angelina Love, and this match itself was pretty good for everything in that sense. I have not seen. I know Alicia Edwards is somebody else in the independent scene, but she's coming in as Alicia over here, or under her real name with Impact Wrestling, and we've seen what Angelina Love has done in the ring before. And like I said, they were having a pretty good match. But they were playing this one off as more of a story building for further down the line with Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. Angelina Love knocks out Alicia with a chain and continues like attacking her as Eddie Edwards tries to get her off. Davey Richards comes in, takes out Eddie Edwards' knee, and then hits Eddie Edwards over the knee with a crutch. I like this segment. I thought it was effective for what they were trying to do. I think Eddie Edwards had also had knee surgery recently, so it can kind of write him off on that side of it as well. But overall, good segment for this one. Like I said, there was some good stuff on this Impact this week. It's just like certain things kind of disengage me from the show. Mostly with the Global Force Wrestling stuff. In that sense of it. So up next, though, and I've got to talk about this because I thought this was a really good match. It's Alberto El Patron versus Magnus. Really good match. And it was for the Global Force Wrestling World title. And you already know how I feel about this. I find it pointless. But here's the even worse thing that they've been doing about this with the world title. They're treating it as a golden ticket, or essentially #1 contendership for a shot at Lashley's Impact Championship. That's all they're treating this title for. That's it. It really, like I said, again, it makes the title, which already is pointless, actually look pointless at this point. And like I said, that's just how I feel. The Global Force Wrestling titles are just literally pointless at this point. And yeah, there's really nothing more to say about that. Because like I said, I really enjoyed the match. El Patron and Magnus did great work inside the ring throughout the entire match. Good teasing of falls and submissions and everything. Just really good stuff from both Alberto and Magnus in here. I've enjoyed both of their works before. But this is the first time I've gotten to see them go actually have a match with each other, and they worked really well together. But at this point in time, the way that they're treating the Global Force Wrestling Championship, why aren't they just having a #1 contendership tournament for a shot at Lashley at Slammiversary? That is literally all they're doing here. It really is. It really is. So, with that being said, overall, I kind of given certain good points of the show. I liked where the LAX stuff was going initially, and then they kind of went to the stereotypical U.S. versus whatever country at that point storyline, which kind of, it's got me disengaged for the moment. We'll see where it goes. If they do something to freshen up that style of feud and everything in that sense, I think it can come. Then it can come off good. For the time being, I'm not holding my breath on it though. So like I said, I liked everything they were doing with that before they decided to go that route with it. The stuff with EC3 I thought was really good this week. You had good matches in there as well to go along with everything. I liked the continuation of the build on the Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards side of everything. And the match with Alberto El Patron and Magnus was really good, but again, the fact that they're essentially treating the Global Force Wrestling World title as a #1 contendership to their world title makes the belt pointless. And they've made, like, just in general, those belts are pointless. And they put so much focus in on it. It's like, are they literally going to change this to Global Force Wrestling out of nowhere or something like this? Was this their plan all along? Is like, oh, we'll have Anthem come in, buy Impact Wrestling, and then we'll merge with them, and then we'll change everything to Global Force Wrestling. I don't know. I don't know in that sense of it. But like I said, there was some good stuff on here. With Impact, some good matches. I like the opening match, even though I was not a big fan of the factor that a couple guys already had jobber entrances and we just started the show in that sense of it. But this continual focus on Global Force Wrestling titles really does nothing for me. So we'll see where they go with everything with Impact Wrestling. And that is my review this week for Impact Wrestling. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.